Before we start, dear chosen one, I would like to take a moment to speak from the bottom of my heart. We are incredibly grateful to everyone who has helped spread this word. You don't realize how much your gift does. This knowledge is amplified and communicated to other chosen individuals who are still seeking, awakening, and attempting to comprehend what their spirit has been detecting all along. A component of that beautiful ripple is you. And please pay close attention if you haven't made a donation. Your engagement, your presence, and your enthusiasm are already gifts. You are incredibly valuable, whether you donate or just observe. You are involved in its development. What if the exact item you've been eating on a regular basis, something that appears innocuous to others, even normal, is subtly destroying your heavenly connection, my love? What if the weariness you experience, the obstacles you encounter in your intuition, and the inexplicable spiritual standstill are all caused by the things you're putting on your plate? You carry a different design because of who you are, whereas others can eat without any repercussions. And this holy sanctuary, your body, is alarming. You sensed it. That peculiar uneasiness following some meals. That feeling that something isn't quite right in your chest. Your thoughts are cloudy, even if you have a strong spirit. These are not arbitrary. They are urgent spiritual communications conveyed in your biological language, accompanied by heavenly warnings. What the world has accepted as normal is being rejected by your system, but the majority of others around you don't get it. Why ought they to? They were not intended to be hampered by these foods. They were designed with you in mind. You are the one designated by heaven for something more. You are the vibrationally rare and the selected one. Your system, which is sensitive to divine frequency, perceives these contemporary meals as a danger, even though others can digest them without experiencing any discernible effects. Not to your mission, but to your health as well. I have more than just knowledge to impart to you. It holds the secret to your spiritual freedom. Forces considerably older and far more cunning than you can comprehend have kept this message hidden. Not only industries or governments, but also antiquated structures designed to stifle the awakening of people like you. And food is the war's most understated and underappreciated weapon. Meal that ties the spirit in addition to feeding the body. You are not merely here. This video isn't your typical one. This appointment is divine. And I beg you to pause right now and write 999 in the comments if the words you're hearing are making something in your spirit vibrate. There is more to that number than just a signal. Now take a deep breath. It's a spiritual code, a proclamation that says, I'm ready. Shut your eyes. Your chest will reverberate. That soft hum, it's more than just feelings. That's acknowledgement. This is the message you've been waiting for. Your entire life, perhaps. In your dreams, in the figures, in the voice that said in a whisper, there's more. The indications have always been there. This is the more. The revelation is this: your relationship with food frequency and your divine identity will be permanently changed by what you're about to discover. God's people, it's impossible to eat everything. Watch out. Do you really understand why your body has been attacked for millennia, chosen one? Why is it that you are unable to eat what other people eat without suffering a spiritual cost? I'm going to tell you a narrative that goes well beyond contemporary history. It dates back to the very beginning of Earth's holy history, when the first selected people lived in perfect harmony with their heavenly mandates. These were not far-off tales or mythological creatures. Like you, they were genuine, strong, and luminous beings who recognized the indisputable truth. You are more than your physical form. It is a hallowed vessel for sacred fire. They didn't eat for convenience or enjoyment. They ate with purpose. In order to maintain divine balance, every herb, grain, and drop of water was a component of a spiritual equation. Not because they were supernatural, but because they were in energetic alignment. These selected vessels were able to speak the future clearly, heal the sick with a touch, and manifest the impossible. Because they guarded what they ate, their bodily bodies had become transparent conduits for God's presence. We are reminded of this sacred concept in the Bible. Do you not realize that you are God's temple and that God's Spirit resides within you? 3:16 in 1 Corinthians. What enters your body through your mouth and senses either consecrates or corrupts it, if your body is the temple. Have you ever questioned why certain foods appear to bring clarity and lightness to your soul, while others make you feel heavy, disengaged, and even nervous? Now consider why food that contains chemicals, addictive drugs, and genetically modified elements is so actively promoted in the modern world. Why is it so hard for the selected ones to feel okay after eating what everyone else eats? The answer is straightforward, yet unsettling. Your DNA is encoded with something different because you were never made to eat the same things as the majority. Your body is programmed spiritually to respond to energetic contamination. Let's dig a little further. The food supply started to change over ages due to the actions of dark forces who were afraid of God's chosen ones rising to power. This was initially accomplished by means of antiquated rites and unholy sacrifices intended to break the electromagnetic connection between heaven and the human vessel. Later, the focus changed from spiritual deception to bioenergetic sabotage as industrial agriculture, lab-modified chemicals, and artificial food-like goods gained popularity. Have you noticed how difficult it is to get food that is actually pure and unadulterated these days? It's no accident. It's intentional. What started out as a spiritual conflict has turned into a biological conflict. And it's not just your physical well-being that's being targeted. It is the frequency of your spirituality. Think about Daniel, the prophet. He refused to contaminate himself with the king's food when he was captured in Babylon. He asked for clean water and vegetables. God also respected his discipline. Daniel, however, made the decision not to contaminate himself with the royal wine and food. Kindly give your personnel a 10-day test. Give us only water to drink and veggies to eat. Daniel 18-12. In addition to being healthier than the others after 10 days, Daniel and his friends also had improved spiritually, becoming capable of dream interpretation, visions, and divine wisdom. Now consider this. Would Daniel have possessed the clarity required to sway an entire nation if he had given in to tainted food? How about you, selected one? Are you giving up your clarity for fleeting taste, or are you defending it? Great brains have echoed this knowledge even in our modern times. Consider one of the greatest inventors in history, Nikola Tesla. He ate an exceptionally limited diet, focusing on items with a high vibration and frequently avoiding meat. He fervently protected the higher frequency he felt was the conduit for his ideas. Then there is Angela Bassett, a well-known figure in Hollywood for her physical and spiritual discipline. She attributes her spiritual strength and clarity in every role to her fasting and clean eating, in addition to her physical well-being. Consider Bruce Lee, who had a rigorous diet that focused on water, fruit, and vegetables, and avoided processed foods. He knew instinctively that his power and mental clarity stemmed from the things he allowed into his body. This was a commonality among the selected ones throughout history. They understood the war to be more than a spiritual one. It was chemical, energetic, and nutritional. Therefore, whatever you eat, drink, or do it all for God's glory. 1 Corinthians 10:31. Is your mission glorified by the food you eat? Or are you inadvertently making your vessel weaker? If the opponent can dull you, he doesn't have to destroy you. If he can cloud your judgment with sugar addiction, caffeine addiction, and hormone-disrupting chemicals, he doesn't need to block your gifts. How will you understand divine guidance if your body is irritated, your emotions are erratic, and your mind is cloudy? When God says, "Go now," how will you respond? Now is the moment to wake up. The battleground extends beyond your relationships and thoughts. Your morning coffee, your late-night desires, and your pantry all contain it. You either feed the holy flame or extinguish it with the foods you let in. I pray, dear, that you will prosper and be well in every way, and that your soul will prosper as well. John chapter 1:2. The decisions you make regarding your physical vessel have an impact on the condition of your soul. Have you ever experienced a tug so old that it could only be described by the soul and not by memory, chosen one? Have you ever studied religious writings, heard ancient chants, or passed ruins, and felt something older than your own life stirring within of you? That isn't creative. Romantic nostalgia isn't that. Your spiritual DNA is calling for you to awaken. What your mind cannot recall, it does. It honors a time when you held authority, when the chosen led a distortion-free life, when your purpose, frequency, and food were all in harmony. Why is there a need for more inside of you? More alignment, peace, and clarity. Because your soul is aware that you have been here before. It has before tasted the sublime. It now yearns to come back to a state of being rather than a location. In the past, the chosen ones gained authority without the use of technology or approval. The technology was them. They were divinely intelligent beings with bodies. Their diet was more than just sustenance. It was fuel of the gods. Their spiritual receptors remained active. Their energetic lines remained open. And their relationship with God remained unbroken with each meal they took. This biological memory is confirmed by the Bible. I knew you before I created you in the womb, and I consecrated you before you were born. Cornell 5, Jeremiah 1. You weren't born with your calling. Long before you took your first breath, it was ingrained in your very being. Your cells still bear that celestial imprint. All you have to do is turn it on. I've spent more than 2 decades studying spirituality around the world, sitting with mystics in the Middle East's deserts, prophets in Ethiopia's mountains, and healers in Peru's jungles. And I've seen the picked repeat the same process. Their supernatural abilities come to life when they cleanse their food. Not gradually, not over decades, but occasionally in a matter of days. Have you ever pondered which presents you have yet to open? Because what you're eating is suppressing your frequency. A kind-hearted woman with a strong call was named Miriam. She fasted, prayed, and concentrated for years, yet she still felt blocked. She had a vague intuition. The manifestation was inconsistent. However, a remarkable change occurred when she cut out just 2 particular inflammatory foods from her diet for just 14 days. She started having visions in her nightmares. Clear, holy, and divine voices started talking to her. She started writing accurately and enlightening others with insights she had previously believed were unattainable. As a revered spiritual guide today, Miriam's insights have changed the course of entire communities. It's not magic. This is a spiritual alignment of biology. Therefore, do all you do, even eating and drinking, for God's honor. 10:31 in 1 Corinthians. Your sacred function is either sharpened or sabotaged by whatever you eat. Another tale. Raphael. He felt assaulted, exhausted, and spiritually robbed throughout the majority of his life. There were buildings he couldn't go into without getting lightheaded. Just being among others had worn him out by the time he got home. Does that sound familiar? You may be going through something similar, believing it to be worry or oversensitivity, but it's actually energy sensitivity that hasn't been protected yet. Raphael did more than simply feel better after following a chosen one's dietary program and cutting out heavy, poisonous, and spiritually distorting foods. He developed a resistance against psychic vampires. Low vibrations couldn't even penetrate his circle of influence since his aura became so powerful. He changed hazardous environments rather than merely surviving them. His body turned into a temple so pure that there was no way for evil to enter. When the chosen clean the temple, that is what occurs. Are you unaware that the Holy Spirit, which you possess from God, resides in your body like a temple? 1 Corinthians 6:19. You're regaining your holy access in addition to improving your health. Now stop and think about this. What if your internal channel is blocked, and that's why you can't hear heavenly direction clearly, or why your gifts seem dormant? Consider your soul to be a radio receiver. The heavenly broadcasts constantly. You won't get the message, though, if your body is overloaded with chemicals, sweets, processed additives, and static. Instead of direction, you'll hear distortion. What if your anxiety is related to your diet rather than your emotions? What if the numbness you're feeling on a spiritual level is actually an energy inflammation brought on by the food you're eating? Some have figured out the code even in contemporary society. World-class athlete Venus Williams' career was in jeopardy after she was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease. After making the transition to a raw plant-based diet, she not only recovered physically, but also felt more focused and energetic. When Jaden Smith changed his diet to incorporate high-vibration superfoods after suffering major health setbacks from bad vegan transitions, he not only regained his strength, but also began to establish his own health-conscious business. One of the most famous supermodels of our time, Gisele Bündchen, attributes her emotional equilibrium and spiritual clarity to a clean, alkaline diet that prioritizes divine alignment over fashion. Consumption is not the source of true power. It originates from what you get rid of. Let everyone know that you are a moderate person. The Lord is near. Philippians 4:15. Punishment is not discipline. It serves as a link between your present situation and the destiny that God has chosen for you. Having selected one, consider what gifts you may have that have lain dormant because you have unwittingly suppressed them with stimulants, processed meat, sugar, or dairy. What spiritual signals are you missing because of the congestion in your antenna? To live in survival mode was not your calling. You were called to act with prophetic clarity, protection, and accuracy. Being sensitive is not a weakness. It's a compass. But you can't navigate through static with that compass. Allow today to be the day you decide. Out of sacred remembering, not out of fear. You are not changing into a different person. You're getting back to your true self, and it starts with your plate. Selected one. What if you eat something that can prevent you from downloading anything divine for 3 days? What if a single, inconsiderate nibble or drink isn't just a sensual pleasure, but also an imperceptible cutoff of the channel between your brain and heaven? Now we are going into holy ground. For generations, what I'm about to reveal has been purposefully concealed, not from the whole public, but particularly from you, because the systems of control would fall apart in an instant if everyone knew what I'm about to disclose. This goes beyond dietary guidance. This is a covert form of spiritual warfare. For a long time, people who are sensitive, empathic, intuitive, energy healers, or seers have reported experiencing unusual things after consuming common additives present in processed foods. These responses aren't arbitrary. They are observable across all cultures, geographies, and religions, and they are repeatable and constant. This is among the chilliest observations. Their aura exhibits a discernible deformation upon ingestion of these particular chemicals. Those with energy sight can see actual dark, opaque clouds, not faint or symbolic, accumulating especially around the crown and third eye chakras. Let me ask you this. Have you ever eaten anything you didn't question at the time, and then had an inexplicable mental fog, a sudden loss of connection to your inner knowledge, or a decline in your spiritual sensitivity? These spiritual blackouts don't just happen. Energy sabotage is the cause of them. After only one exposure, these dark areas in your aura may linger for up to 72 hours, obstructing your access to divine wisdom, impairing your intuition, and even cutting off your spiritual protection during that time. This type of focused spiritual interference was long anticipated in the Bible. Be sober. Keep an eye out. The devil, your enemy, prowls around like a roaring lion, looking for someone to eat. Peter 5:8 is the first. The devil is not merely lurking in the dark. Your snack labels contain him. He's hidden in things you casually eat but can't pronounce. You are the one he pursues because you carry something that the darkness fears, even though others may feel good. What the spirit realm has long known is now starting to catch up with modern technology. Something unsettling has been found by researchers who use Curian photography, a method that records the electromagnetic environment surrounding living things. Different people react energetically to certain food additives in quite different ways. After consuming these chemicals, the typical person without spiritual abilities or intense inner work may have little disruptions, such as a slight decrease in energy and possibly some moodiness, but nothing significant. However, There are significant disturbances in their energetic field, fractures in the auric body, energy fragmentation, and a lack of vibrational cohesiveness among the elect, chosen ones, and spiritually enlightened or awakening individuals. Even though the source was merely food, the distinctive pattern frequently resembles someone who is experiencing a spiritual attack. Tell me now, what kind of system makes this possible? What kind of spirit is behind it, more importantly? The response is simultaneously empowering and horrifying. These drugs aren't only unhealthy. Their purpose is to repress you. The world is informed that it has to do with cost-effectiveness, shelf life, or flavor. The deeper reality is much darker. Because they occur more frequently, the selected ones respond more harshly. They have more sophisticated energy. They have a symphony-like internal mechanism. In the midst of a religious melody, these embellishments are like slamming a discordant note. Those who call good evil and evil good are doomed. He substituted light for darkness and darkness for light. Isaiah 5:20. It was safe, they said. You were informed that it was typical, but you were never supposed to be normal, chosen one. Give it some thought. When was the last time you felt totally attuned, focused, and spiritually clear? Did processed food cause that moment? Or was it after consuming only pure water and praying? Or was it during a period of clean food or fasting? This is not an accident. It's code. Examine the lives of contemporary people with strong spiritual beliefs who dealt with comparable energetic difficulties. The Grammy-winning soul singer India Ahri opened out on how cutting out processed foods and additives from her diet changed her spirituality. Her very nature changed, and she started to write music that channeled greater wisdom and hear heavenly guidance more clearly. She was no longer merely acting. She was sending out messages. Then there is Keanu Reeves, who is well known for his minimalist lifestyle and profound spirituality in addition to his acting career. Because manufactured meals impair his emotional and mental clarity, he has always avoided them for health reasons. According to his co-workers, he changes the vibe of every area he walks into. When the selected ones safeguard their frequency, this is what occurs. And lastly, Yvonne Orji, the comedian and actress who freely attributes her success and inner calm to her consecrated lifestyle, clean living, and spiritual discipline. She avoids processed sweeteners, alcohol, and dangerous substances, not out of a sense of legalism, but rather because she is defending a holy aspect of herself. She is aware, like you, that clarity comes at the cost of alertness. Therefore, let us be awake and sober instead of sleeping like others. 5.6 in 1 Thessalonians. Living like the world is out of your price range. They were built differently than you. You're too alert. You're calling too loudly. Furthermore, there is not enough room for error. They don't want you to know this. The origins of some of these additives are esoteric, occult indeed, energetically manipulated, symbolically laden, and intended for frequency suppression as well as taste. Your shield is weakened by them. Doorways are opened by them. They make you less discriminating, more programmable, and more suggestible. Imagine attempting to download God's instructions while static is playing loudly. Every time these additives get into your bloodstream, that is what occurs. The transmission is distorted, delayed, and jumbled, but not lost. Silence replaces what ought to have been an obvious go left. Confusion results from what ought to have been a delay. The body's lamp is the eye. Your entire body will be illuminated if your eyes are healthy. Matthew 6:22. How can you recognize the route if your perception is impaired, your third eye is obscured, or your crown chakra is closed? When it's time to move, how will you be able to hear the whisper? This explains why so many chosen ones experience confusion, anxiety, and overwhelm, not because they are failing, but rather because of spiritual, biological, and energetic interference. Let's take this home then. Have you ever regretted eating something right away? Your prayers were weaker, your thoughts were fuzzy, your dreams were cloudy, and your emotions were fragile, not because of calories or health. That isn't arbitrary. You're not imagining that. That is sabotage. Here's the good news, though. The war changes the instant you realize it. Being aware is the first line of defense. Your best weapon is purity. You don't have to become flawless right away, but you need to start listening. What am I eating? Who made it? Why is it in this form? What is it doing to my frequency? Is a question that should be asked before you courageously pursue the truth. Make your temple clean. Make your shield stronger. Quick when guided. With each bite, offer up a prayer. Do your homework on your ingredients. Have faith in your body's cues. You were never meant to eat like them, and you are not like them. Instead of following this world's pattern, let your mind to be renewed and alter you. Romans 12:2. Allow your renewal to start with the fuel you consume, not simply your thoughts. You've come too far to be defeated by a snack, chosen one. Betrayal, spiritual warfare, loneliness, mockery, and temptation have all been avoided by you. Don't allow flavor and enhanced lying to be your undoing. Not right now. Not while your gifts are coming to life. Not when you are being prepared by God to receive something that needs you to be a clear, stable, and unwavering vessel. Treating your body like the heavenly haven that it is begins with one meal, one choice, and one resolve. Allow them to chuckle. Let them make fun of your strange eating patterns. Before it started to rain, they also made fun of Noah. However, you are getting ready for the rain. The ark is being built by you. Your channels are being cleared. Your antenna is being adjusted. You're getting ready to send. And you'll understand why it was important when the downloads begin. The dreams come back, and the visions get clearer. Selected one. Ever ponder why your heart seems heavy at times for no apparent reason? Or why, after a particular meal, epiphanies seem to fade? Your schedule, your amount of stress, or even your prayers might not hold the answer. It might be concealed in your meals, most especially in the vibration of the food you've eaten. Something more ancient and intricately linked to the soul is the source of one of the most destructive spiritual obstacles that befall the selected, rather than chemicals or synthetic materials. Eating meat from animals that were frightened, lonely, and in pain. This goes beyond nutrition, morality, or even health. Energy transfer is at play here. You know, animals' bodies become soaked with vibrations of fear, anguish, anxiety, and despair when they are kept in cramped quarters and treated more like objects than like real beings. That energy is etched into their cells at every minute of their brief, tumultuous lives. Therefore, that energy doesn't simply vanish when their flesh is eaten. It gets inside of you, becomes a part of you. You're consuming more than simply protein. You're taking in pain frequencies, frequencies that were never intended to reside in a heavenly light vessel such as yours. This energy notion is directly addressed in the Bible. Despite the fact that many people have read the passages without fully understanding their meaning, Daniel made the decision that he would not contaminate himself with the king's food or drink. Daniel 8. Despite the king's delicacies being impure by religious law, Daniel did not turn them down. He was aware that his vitality, his lucidity, and his capacity for heavenly revelation would all be changed by what he ate. The same reality must be understood by you, the selected one. You cannot afford to be negligent with what you let into your sacred system because your calling is too high and your purpose too precise. The effects of eating low-frequency meat are amplified in you since your energy body is more receptive, porous, and open than the normal person's. These energies adhere rather than just flow through. They congregate around particular places of energy, particularly the heart chakra and solar plexus. Neither of these centers is arbitrary. They serve as the centers of your self-assurance, willpower, identity, and ability to connect with God, love, and compassion. Your spiritual life starts to feel muted when these centers are inhibited. Your sense of intuition wanes. Your goal becomes unclear. An unseen burden suffocates your capacity to manifest. Even though it feels like you're praying, nothing is happening. Even if you feel like you're meant for something, the realization never materializes. When you were doing everything correctly, have you ever had the impression that God's voice was quiet? What if what you've inadvertently consumed has muffled your channels, rather than heaven being quiet? Both spiritual and scientific investigations have noted significant changes in the electorate. People who have decided to completely avoid eating meat from suffering animals. The energetic blockages in the heart region started to melt in a number of documented cases in as little as 21 days. Unexpected waves of unconditional love accompanied this transition for many, who described it as a full-body awakening rather than just a feeling. Some claim to have sobbed uncontrollably due to an intense sense of heavenly connection rather than grief. They felt genuinely seen, genuinely guided, and genuinely loved for the first time in years. This isn't a placebo for emotions. Removing trauma-based energy from their diet is the direct cause of it. According to one woman, it was like going back to how I was before the world tried to bury me. She had been in a state of spiritual limbo, uncertain of her purpose and uncertain of her destiny. However, the curtain lifted as she cleared her system of the energies of dread and death. Her dreams resumed. Clear visions appeared. During praying, her hands became warm. The speed of her manifestations increased. Nothing new came to her. She only brought back what had been lost in the fervent cacophony. O God, purify my heart and instill a right spirit in me. Let's examine some public figures who have undergone this type of awakening. Psalm 51:10 states, "For you, chosen one, this isn't poetic metaphor. This is literal instruction. A clean heart requires clean fuel, and that fuel cannot come from fear-soaked flesh, no matter how socially acceptable it may be." The well-known musician and vocal vegan Moby has long stated that cutting out animal products in his diet allowed him to live a more compassionate life and produce more instinctively. He frequently talks about how quitting absorbing pain led to a significant spiritual shift. Not only is Erykah Badu well known for her singing, but she also leads a vegan lifestyle that is based on spiritual clarity. She feels that the frequency of eating has a direct impact on her intuition's strength and aura's purity. She frequently cites her nutrition as an unavoidable component of her existence when asked how she manages to stay so grounded and spiritually oriented. Rich Roll, a spiritual inspiration and ultra-endurance athlete, talks about how a plant-based diet changed his perception of God's mission. He stopped using animal products for reasons other than health. It was about reviving a vision and inner power that had lain dormant for years. His platform now spreads lessons of holistic power, energetic integrity, and inner harmony to millions of people. Thus, everything you do, including eating and drinking, should be done for God's honor. 1 Corinthians 10:31. Your fuel needs to be consecrated if your body is the temple. Not all edibles are appropriate for the electorate. But isn't meat just part of life? Didn't people in the Bible eat meat? You could still be asking yourself, and the answer is that they did. However, avoid eating meat from animals that have been kept in cages, subjected to torture, given hormone injections, and removed from their young. Not meat butchered in silence and saturated with dread. The animal's energy is important. Context is important. It is important to consider the purpose of eating. Meat is no longer necessary for existence in the modern day. It is now a factory of hopelessness. Furthermore, the selected individual cannot afford to take part in that cycle, not if they want to stay alert, focused, and completely engaged. Have you seen that? Even if your intellect is unsure of the cause, eating particular meals makes your moods heavier, your dreams darker, and your meditations more difficult. That's the voice of your spirit. That is the frequency at which you defy the normalization of your routines. It is good not to eat meat or drink wine or do anything that causes your brother to stumble. Romans 14:21 is a subtly precise warning from the Bible. This is about more than just other people. It's about the one you've picked. You should think twice about what you're consuming if it makes your spirit falter even a little. And it is worthwhile to make a change if inquiry finds a blockage. This is your invitation, chosen soul, to become more conscious rather than to accept shame or dread, to start paying attention to the energy that goes into your meals rather than just the nutritional information, and to inquire about any spiritual after-effects that might still be present days after the meal has ended. To have the courage to think that you have the power to decide what frequency you carry, and that everything that enters your body becomes a part of it. Those with pure hearts are blessed because they will see God. Matthew 5:8. Perfection is not the same as purity. It's alignment. Alignment must also reach the plate for the selected. You don't have to start again tomorrow. However, you need to start paying attention, observing, and tuning in to how your body responds to each meal. You are not here to conform to the norms of the world. In a chaotic world, you are here to shatter them, to rise above them, and to become the mirror reflecting God's order. Selected one. After consuming a simple slice of bread, have you ever observed that your thinking seems cloudy? That your senses becoming less sharp? Your spiritual senses seem dulled? or your dreams grow hazy. You can't quite explain why, though. An allergy is not the cause. It goes beyond your digestive system. It is something more profound, something concealed, something that influences the structure of your spiritual vision itself. Because one of the most prevalent, yet underappreciated substances in the modern world is the next big energetic disruptor that targets the chosen ones: gluten and modified grains. One of the best-kept spiritual secrets of the contemporary day is this: the hallowed life-giving grains that have sustained civilizations for thousands of years are no longer the wheat, barley, and rye of today, as many people are unaware. Your pantry's grains have undergone energetic distortion, chemical enhancement, and genetic modification. Furthermore, this was not an accident. This was no accident. Targeting the human mind, particularly the spiritual mind, especially yours. This change was purposeful and painstakingly planned, not only for financial gain or agricultural purposes. According to the Bible, ignorance will lead to the destruction of my people. Hosea 4:6. Millions of people genuinely eat these tainted grains without realizing the harm being done to their souls as well as their bodies. Your selected one must not continue to be ignorant. The others are not like you. Sacred sensitivity, a spiritual radar that detects information others cannot even pick up, is something you were born with. This is why you may feel spiritually blind after eating meals that others can digest without any issues. Let's be more precise. Modern grains contain gluten, which among the elect causes much than just physical distress. It surrounds the head chakra and third eye with a thick, energetic fog. These are the two gates that have the closest connections to cosmic memory, prophetic insight, and divine guidance. Your spiritual vision is warped when these doors are obstructed. Messages may still reach you, but they will seem as static. Divine whispers are still audible, but they are far and feeble. Similar, like attempting to see through a foggy window. Though it's unclear now, your intuition is still there. The fact that you could not even be aware of the source adds to the danger. After consuming something as simple as bread or cereal, have you ever found yourself doubting your spiritual insights, wondering if your intuition is faltering, or questioning your discernment? It is precisely this cloud that causes that perplexity. Additionally, the cloud gets thicker the longer you consume contemporary gluten. It doesn't strike with a clatter. It slowly seeps in, weakening your relationship with God every day until you're barely able to function. The impact that contemporary gluten has on the pineal gland, one of the most important organs for the selected, is much more concerning. This gland, which is frequently called the seat of the soul, controls your capacity to receive heavenly messages through visions, dreams, and energy impressions. Ancient societies held it in high regard. When the Bible talks about having enlightened eyes, it makes reference to it. Ephesians 1:18. This is not a metaphor. It is both spiritual and anatomical, because the pineal gland is your natural antenna to the broadcasts of heaven, your built-in divine satellite. It seems that modern gluten, particularly that which contains glyphosate and other chemical additions, directly disrupts this gland's ability to operate. As a result, those who are chosen begin to feel disconnected from their spirituality. Meditations get agitated. Static replaces dreams. And it seems impossible to regain the deep insight you once possessed. The very thing that defines you starts to disappear. The miraculous thing comes next. Those who have chosen to live a gluten-free lifestyle as a spiritual practice, rather than as a diet fad, report remarkable results. Their pineal gland starts to reawaken in a few of weeks. The mist clears. New colors, symbols, and predictions appear in their dreams. They enter new realms through meditation, where they see entities and energy that they previously could only feel. They do not develop a spiritual side. Their spiritual frequency returns to its initial state. Your healing will then emerge swiftly, and your light will shine like the sunrise. Isaiah 58:8. Your spiritual clarity is that light, and it's just over the gluten-free curtain for a lot of people. Let's put this in a contemporary setting. People all around the world, particularly those in spiritually influential roles, have found this out for themselves. International model and wellness entrepreneur Miranda Kerr has long credited her dedication to clean diet and gluten-free living with her enhanced intuition and spiritual connection. She attributes her intuitive business success to food, which she says influences the clarity of her meditations and the vibration of her ideas. After cutting out gluten from his diet, Lewis House, a former professional athlete who is now a motivational teacher, experienced an increase in his mental acuity, clarity of vision, and creative flow. He became more disciplined in his spiritual life. After that shift, his objectives became more apparent, and the empire he established started to grow faster. In order to restore her inner clarity, India Ahri, a spiritual leader and beautiful singer, also adopted vibration-conscious and gluten-free diet. Her awareness broadened, and her music, which was originally rooted in intense emotion, began to take on a mystical and prophetic quality. They'll all tell you it wasn't a health choice. It was a vigorous one. A return to their initial configurations, complete with alignment, unblocked, and unfiltered. Have you thought about how much clarity you may regain if you just let go of the things that have been obscuring your third eye? If your pineal gland were completely awake, what signals might you be able to hear clearly once more? You start to realize the original purpose you brought into this existence the more you purify. By worldly standards, you were not placed here merely to live or pursue achievement. You were brought here to carry light codes that change entire environments, to dispel illusion, and to transmit truth. But you need clarity to do that. And a continuous signal is necessary for clarity. The way your words unfold illuminates and enlightens the simple. Psalm 119, 130. If spiritual guidance is light, then interference is everything that obstructs that light. In its contemporary form, gluten is interference. I'm not saying that everyone has to follow this road, but you've already decided that you're unique. You already experience emotions that others do not. They can't explain the visions you already possess. Why, then, should your diet resemble theirs? Shame is not the issue here. It has to do with alignment. It all comes down to picking the narrower, higher path. This is the way to prophetic accuracy, because you will become more when the fog lifts, in addition to seeing more. What dreams, then, have you lost because your view was altered by something on your plate? Which spiritual tasks have been postponed due to mental fog? Which divine whispers need your undivided attention the most? The antenna has to be awakened. Time to head back to the frequency that you were destined to possess. A frequency that draws forth alignment in everyone you come into contact with. in addition to blessing your life. Because others are energized by your clarity. Their vision is unlocked by yours. Make today the day you give this a try. Take away what you've put up with. Fast from fog as well as from food. Give your temple some air. You will see, not just believe, that you are always connected to God if you allow your spirit to grow. Simply put, you are influenced by distortion. Taste and see the goodness of the Lord. Whoever seeks refuge in him is blessed. Psalm 34:8. But your senses need to be clear in order to taste properly. Your energy, spirit, and tongue are all in harmony. Let me ask you a sacred question, chosen one. Have you ever experienced a weight on your chest that was unabated by prayer? A heavy emotional burden that, despite your deepest desire, seemed to numb your ability to commune with God. It wasn't anything you made up. It wasn't weakness that you were experiencing. Interference was the cause. Today, we need to discuss conventional dairy products, the fourth major spiritual disruptor. Food soaked in pain in secret was never intended for you to eat. However, dairy has turned into a quiet foe for many of the chosen, targeting not just the physical body, but also the spiritual framework that keeps them in tune with the frequency of heaven. The majority of people are unaware that dairy in its contemporary form is not the harmless product that it is promoted to be. Synthetic hormones, antibiotic residues, and trauma energy from animals, kept in cramped, abused systems that no longer value life, are all present. The underlying truth, however, is one that few are willing to publicly acknowledge. Modern dairy produces a thick etheric sludge, an energy mucus layer that adheres to your chakra system like spiritual glue. It has been seen by those with developed auric vision. There is more to this sticky coating than just your physical body. It covers your energy centers, dulling their heavenly resonance, drowning them, and muting them. Your chakras, the hallowed portals via which spiritual light passes, close up like grimy windows. Despite its best efforts, the light is unable to penetrate, and the spiritual stagnation deepens over time. Have you ever had this experience? Feeling as though your heart is numb when praying? While meditating, I'm running into an odd emotional barrier. Being at a sacred place, but not being able to worship, cry, or be completely present. This is the result of what the ancients referred to as energy mucus, covering the chakra system. It's not figurative. It vibrates. And dairy, particularly dairy produced via pain, is one of the most powerful sources of this filth. Above all, protect your heart, since it dictates how your life will unfold. Proverbs 4:23. Protecting your heart is more than just feelings for your chosen one. It's about keeping your immune system strong, the same force field that protects you against evil energy, manipulation, and spiritual fatigue. However, the most disastrous effect of dairy consumption hits right at the core of your goal. Physically situated next to your heart, the thymus gland is symbolically associated with the heart chakra. This gland has more functions than merely biology. It serves as the holy link between your spiritual and physical selves, and is the location of divine connection. Your body becomes a healing, compassionate, and loving powerhouse when the thymus is functioning. You pray more fervently. You become more astute. Your energy turns into a magnet. However, chemicals generated from dairy reach the bloodstream, and slightly impair thymus function, enough to lessen its spiritual glow, but not enough to cause rapid disease. This leads to spiritual exhaustion, energy vampirism, emotional manipulation, a compromised energetic immune system, and heightened susceptibility to psychic attacks. Your shield starts to break, not because your spirit is weak, but because something that shouldn't have been there has entered your sanctuary. How great is the darkness if the light within you is darkness? Matthew 6:23. It's a terrifying verse. It serves as a reminder that we lose our ability to see properly when the very system that provides us with light is obstructed. Not ourselves, not the world, nor even the voice of God. Here's the miracle, though. Something sacred occurs when you break through this spiritual barrier, give up traditional dairy, and purify your body. People who have been chosen all over the world report experiencing a deep spiritual awakening, frequently so powerful that it resembles a second birth. The walls collapse, the numbness goes away, tears flow freely, the prayers get more profound, and frequently the hands start to get hot, practically humming with pranic energy, ready to anoint, heal, and console. I will also give you a new heart and instill a new spirit in you. Ezekiel 36:26. There is more to this text than redemption. It has to do with spiritual rejuvenation, a change that starts as soon as the temple is cleansed. Consider Tabitha Brown, the adored influencer and actress who has captured the hearts of millions with her happy, brilliant spirit. Eliminating dairy and other animal products from her diet marked the beginning of her path to spiritual enlightenment. Her heart opened out in new ways as she did. She started giving forth spiritual teachings, healing, inspiration, and healthy meals that nourish the body and the spirit. Her light is energetic rather than merely external. And then there's Woody Harrelson, a longtime supporter of plant-based awareness and clean living. He frequently talks about how giving up dairy and other vibrationally heavy foods changed his sense of clarity, vitality, and emotional presence. His performances became more nuanced. His feeling of purpose grew stronger. His field of energy became clear. Last but not least, take the example of fashion designer and animal rights advocate Stella McCartney, who has established a global brand focused on kindness and eco-friendly living. Her choice to ban dairy and advocate for cruelty-free substitutes was more than just a commercial move. It was a single belief. She credits this choice with fostering her creativity and harmony. Additionally, there is a tangible vibrational purity to her brand. He will therefore be a conduit for honorable usage, set apart as holy, if he purges himself of what is dishonorable. 2 Timothy 2:21. That vessel is you, selected one. You are not here to live a carefree life. You are here to be used honorably, to be filled, poured forth, and set apart in ways that are sacred. Now think about this. How many of your spiritual problems have resulted from substances you used without understanding their effects, rather than from sin or self-defeating behavior? How many times have you unintentionally dulled your own spiritual instrument while calling for greater strength, clarity, or direction? Despite the fact that heavenly love flows, you were born with it, with an open heart, not a heart full with energetic poisons, not a thymus burdened by milk laden with hormones, not a single chakra system was choked by sludge. This is your heavenly invitation then. Make your temple clean, not because of guilt, not out of fear, but out of a desire for more and a sense of sacred alignment. Because heaven agrees to activation the instant you accept purity, and your gifts that have been silently waiting, will come to life. All of your heart, soul, and strength must be devoted to loving the Lord, your God. Deuteronomy 6:5. Not a broken, dumb, half-asleep version, but a lively, bright, completely awakened heart, all your might. When the selected individuals take this step, they frequently report immediate changes. Once again, prophetic dreams appear. Protection with energy gets stronger. Compassion grows, and their hands start to exude healing energy like fire. People listen to what they have to say. The room shifts as they pray. The mood shifts as they enter areas. You are that person. A vessel of unadulterated heavenly love lies beneath the layers, beneath the cheese, beneath the uncertainty, and beneath the numbness. Furthermore, you don't have to change into that person. All that needs to be let go is that which never should have been there in the first place. What if I told you, chosen one, that some of the foods that are most harmful to your soul are those that appear perfectly normal? What if the most harmful compounds to your energy field aren't labeled as such, don't cause allergies, and don't appear on blood tests? Instead, they subtly alter your soul's frequency. Greetings from energetically modified food, one of the most heinous types of spiritual sabotage. The fifth main energetic obstruction may be the most pernicious of all since, in contrast to toxins that are readily apparent, this enemy presents itself as normal. These foods don't seem very dangerous. They don't spoil easily or have an unpleasant odor. On the shelves of supermarket stores, they sit naively. They pass all of the chemical tests, but they fall short in the vibrational domain, which is where the chosen are most concerned. All life is energy, as you well know, chosen one. Every word, every cell, and every thought has a frequency. In the past, the Earth's natural resonance was conveyed by edibles, real foods. They helped your temple stay in line with God when they were cultivated in love, harvested in harmony, and consumed with thankfulness. However, what occurs if that resonance is altered? What occurs when something that is meant to support you turns into something that impedes you without your knowledge? Satan even assumes the appearance of a light angel. 2 Corinthians 11:14. It's not simply about spirits or individuals. It has to do with systems. It has to do with how deceit itself is concealed. The vibrational signatures of some of these meals have been jumbled by radiation, frequency imprinting, electromagnetic alteration, and subtle technologies. At the energy level, they have been altered. They appear to be unaltered. However, they are poison to the spirit. The average person might not be immediately harmed by these meals, but you're not average. One of the elect is you. Your system is as finely tuned as a sacred harp string because you were designed to carry a high spiritual voltage in order to function as a transmitter of divine truth. Your entire energetic system can be thrown out of balance by even a small distortion in the frequency of the food you eat. There is no paranoia here. It's physics. It's energy. It's spiritual conflict cloaked in culinary creativity. Have you ever lived a perfect spiritual life? felt spiritually burdened, disengaged, or unable of bringing anything forward, despite praying, fasting, and meditating? Is it possible that the obstruction was caused by the frequency of your eating rather than your intention? What has been seen among the chosen is as follows. Auric polarity inversion is an uncommon but deadly illness brought on by repeated intake of certain energetically changed foods. The Earth's natural stream, which is linked to divine flow, is in line with the clockwise rotation of the human energy field under normal circumstances. However, your field rotates counterclockwise against the current when the auric polarity is reversed. All of a sudden, everything feels difficult. Prayers are resurrected. Manifestations come to a standstill. Distinction seems hazy. Even though you seem to be doing everything correctly, you're not making any progress. You are not to blame for that. That is sabotage of energy. The Bible cautions us to be wary of deceiving forces that operate in invisible realms, because we fight not against people, but against powers, principalities, the dark rulers of this world, and spiritual wickedness in high places. Ephesians 6:12. Some of those principalities work by rewriting the energy DNA of the food you eat through food systems, subtle vibrational distortions, or seemingly innocuous procedures. Let's take a closer look at this. Trying to swim upstream while bearing someone else's trauma is similar to auric polarity inversion. Everything resists, no matter how much you strive, pray, or push. While your frequency is dragging in the opposite direction, your spirit is struggling to rise. Even if you're working hard, you're not seeing any results. Then comes self-doubt. I might not be selected. I may no longer be anointed. I might be blocked. Your constant selection makes the opponent smile. Your diet just launched an invisible attack that misaligned you. However, everything changes after realignment and interference removal. The clarity of prophecy returns. The momentum behind your manifestations increases. The divine commands become clear. Every room you visit has its energy rebalanced by your very presence. Restoring vibrational purity has that power. Then, with the belt of truth fastened around your waist, stand firmly. 6:14 in Ephesians. Realizing that eating is more than just physical is a part of that reality. It's vivacious. The opponent will also interfere with your source if he is unable to touch your soul. In an attempt to skew what emerges from your spirit, he will control what you put into your body. Testimonies from real life powerfully illustrate this. Consider actor, neuroscientist, and vocal spiritual thinker, Mim Balik. She stays away from a lot of processed and modified foods because they impact mental clarity and energy balance, in addition to being bad for her health. Her presence and profound perception are not by chance. Conscious feeding is the foundation of them. Jason Maz, a musician and supporter of organic living, comes next. He freely discusses how switching to healthy, high-vibration meals rekindled his creative flow and spiritual stability. He started cultivating his own food, which made him feel closer to the land and more motivated to meditate and compose music. Despite her reputation as an athlete, Serena Williams has also subtly engaged in energetic self-care through deliberate diet. She modifies her dietary choices prior to significant events in order to align her body and energy for power, attention, and clarity. She is aware that winning starts long before she even takes the court. The first is what she eats. Have you thought about the triumphs that lie ahead of you? Only a little spiritual disturbance from something on your plate caused the delay. To be clear, not all food is bad, but some meals have been corrupted by energy, and the institutions that make them don't care about you. They are not made for spiritual alignment, but rather for effectiveness, profitability, and shelf life. These foods have been exposed to radiation. Frequency imprinting methods have been introduced to others. Still others have undergone hybridization in ways that defy their long-standing codes. You're not eating what God created as a result. Man twisted what you're eating. Furthermore, distortion was not intended for you to consume. To those who seek assistance in Egypt, woe be to them. However, don't turn to Israel's Holy One. Isaiah 31:1. Rather than returning to divine wisdom, many people seek their sustenance from food corporations. However, as the chosen one, you are expected to recognize, inquire, ascend, and keep in mind that your body is a throne for divine presence rather than a trash can for human energy. What can you do then? Start by posing fresh queries to your food. What vibe does this bring in addition to being organic or non-GMO? After I consume it, how does it feel? How do my dreams turn out? How does my discernment fare? After my worship, does it feel lifeless or dull? You've just discovered a frequency mismatch, and it's time to restore your energetic integrity if the responses make you uncomfortable. You can experience a first wave of resistance, cravings, exhaustion, and mood swings when you start to cut out foods that have been energetically transformed. Failure is not what this is. This is detox. Your energy field is recalling its initial beat in this way. You'll start to notice things that most people never notice once that routine is back in place. You'll notice trends. Heaven will be audible to you. God's presence will be palpable in your body, not on mountaintops or in churches. Above all, my dear, I hope that you will prosper and stay healthy as your soul does. John chapter 1:2. If your body is still poisoned, God does not want your soul to flourish. Your spiritual and physical well-being are intertwined, and vibrational purity is the first step toward energetic clarity. You do not seek blessings when your auric field is properly spinning. You have a magnetic pull on them. You don't ask for innovations. They line up by nature. You have no trouble getting noticed, because the chosen were never intended to strive. You end up being a beacon. They were supposed to flow. However, only when your frequency is traveling in a divine direction does flow occur. And now, for the last query. Do the unseen frequencies you consume on a daily basis cause you to unconsciously spin in reverse or flow with God's current? What you do next holds the solution, not simply how you feel. Eat from the soil instead of the lab. Make the decision to use discernment and prayer to bless your meal. Make the decision to respect your consumption in order to honor your calling. It is essential to your future. It is waiting for your assignment. It is in harmony with heaven. The return of your voice, eyesight, and strength. Your frequency is the first step in anything. Selected one. Despite your spiritual activities, prayers, and fasting, have you ever felt as though something was lacking? It seemed as though a thin veil was still present, even though you were only inches away from something enormous and divine. What if I told you that veil was always nourishing rather than spiritual? What if the final thing standing between you and complete activation was concealed in your everyday routine, on your plate, or in your pantry? Because the majority of the world has been unaware of this truth. The frequency of scrambled foods, conventional dairy, energetically altered grains, traumatized meat, artificial additives, and all 5 categories of spiritually disruptive foods are eliminated by an elect. The entire alchemical process starts. Furthermore, it doesn't take years. It starts right away. Once lethargic, your body awakens. Once hazy, your intellect becomes clearer, and like wings that were never clipped, only hidden, your spirit, your wonderful, strong, divine spirit, expands. The very barrier between dimensions starts to crumble in this condition of restored vibrational integrity. Somewhere out there is no longer heaven. It's here. Now is the time. The environment around you shifts. The room's illumination intensifies. And what formerly seemed like whispers from the spirit world now becomes crystal clear communication with your guides, your higher self, and the light beings assigned to accompany you. Give me a call, and I'll answer and tell you amazing, uncanny stuff you're unaware of. Jeremiah 33:3. It's more than just a verse. When there is no longer any hindrance obstructing your spiritual channel, that promise is fulfilled. Have you ever questioned why you suddenly had a strong dream, a foretelling vision, or an epiphany that immediately resolved a problem after undergoing a prolonged period of fasting or temporary dietary changes? It wasn't a random act, and that was a sneak peek at full alignment. Selected one. The ancients were aware of this. They made no guesses or conjectures. They experienced it firsthand. Dietary ascension was a practice used by the Egyptians, Essenes, and early mystics. This hidden thread was shared by the desert prophets of the West and the sages of the East. Food was either a jail or a gateway. Only the elect, or those who were prepared spiritually, were taught this truth. Those who follow this path now report dramatic, almost miraculous manifestation experiences. It was not because they suddenly became powerful, but rather because the strength that always existed inside them was at last unhindered. Previously only accessible through intense meditation or death-like silence, the Akashic records now open up like a well-lit library. Before questions are even completely developed, answers are provided. There are patterns. Visions become more acute. Most astonishingly, spiritual DNA that has been blocked by dietary pollution starts to completely manifest. Additionally, you will be aware of the truth, which will release you. John 8:32. In actuality, you have always had spiritual capacity. Only interference, substances you were taught were safe, and a world not made for the chosen have suppressed it. For years, a young prophet named Lucia battled depression and what medical professionals called spiritual disassociation. Her dreams seemed far away. Her pleas didn't seem to be heard. However, she started seeing colors in people's energy fields within 2 months after clearing her life of all 5 vibrational disruptors. She began speaking in languages she had never learned. She went into great depth on things that hadn't happened yet. Her family believed it to be a passing phase. It was her spirit coming home, and her mentors knew it. Your body is more than just flesh, you see, chosen one. It is technology that has been divinely encoded and is tuned for higher frequencies. Your diet is more than just fuel. Data input is what it is. It either corrupts or sharpens the program. Either the line is erased or the blueprint is activated. Instead of fitting in with this world, allow your mind to be renewed and transform you. Romans 12:2. That rejuvenation starts at the cellular level for the elect. Your diet has an impact on more than simply your physical health. Your frequency is informed by them. I have a question for you. What would happen if all 5 categories were eliminated for a mere 33 days? Christ lived on earth one day for each year. Would you see again? Would light erupt from your heart? Would you at last ignite your healing gifts? This path has been traveled by real-life figures. Food has a pranic worth, according to Indian mystic and spiritual teacher Sadhguru, who has long preached that some meals prevent people from reaching higher levels. Decades of energy connection with divine sustenance are reflected in his own clarity, charm, and presence. Despite her reputation for athletic prowess, Venus Williams freely discusses the mental and spiritual clarity she experiences as a result of eating healthily and purposefully. Success means more to her than merely winning. It's vivacious. Knowing that food forms her field, she adjusts her body to fit her objectives. Recently, Demi Lovato has entered a time of spiritual clarity and creative rebirth after being caught in a cycle of emotional and physical imbalance. Her path to wholeness, purpose, and divine recall has been significantly influenced by her plant-forward, energetically mindful lifestyle. The darkness cannot overpower the light which shines in it. John 1:5. You possess that light. You've always had it. However, you need to adjust the temple, clear the lens, and eliminate the shadow for it to shine completely. This wisdom, dearly chosen one, has been preserved throughout history, whispered in secret schools, watched over by monks, transmitted by ascended masters, and validated in your own spirit each time you experience that tiny, silent understanding. I don't feel comfortable eating this stuff. Your higher self's voice was calling you, reminding you, and begging you to remember who you are. You're not just here to eat and get by. You are here to rise, awaken, and transmit, to utter discoveries that others cannot hear, to carry frequencies that others cannot retain, and to bring forth solutions that others cannot imagine. However, for that to occur, your body needs to be a willing vessel that is open to heavenly outflow, rather than being clogged with material intake. What version of yourself is still hidden beneath a curtain composed of sugar, traumatized flesh, gluten distortion, dairy suppression, and vibrational sabotage? I ask you one last time, what miracle, just waiting for your alignment, are you still waiting for? You're prepared. You've been prepared all along. All you had to do was keep it in mind. Allow this to be your summons to holy sustenance, as a lifetime alignment with heaven, not as a fad or a short-term purification. Make your plate into a shrine. Make your meals a form of prayer. Allow your body to become a light cathedral. After that, observe as the sky opens, the curtain thins, and your spirit starts to fulfill its destiny. Ascend, rule, and make God's grandeur known in human, musical form. What you just received, beloved chosen one, is more than just information. It is a heavenly directive, a sacred call to recover your spiritual clarity, divine authority, and energy sovereignty, things that have always been yours. For you, what does this realization really mean? It indicates that you now possess a tried and true, straightforward route to realizing your spiritual potential. No more wondering why your visions seem far away, why your spirit feels heavy, or why your gifts seem muted. You now understand that each and every meal is a decision, a choice between spiritual connection and energetic interference, between elevation and stagnation. The instant you start letting go of the spiritual obstacles ingrained in your diet, your change will begin. Your entire world starts to change. Your perspective broadens beyond what you previously believed was feasible. Even before a word is said, you can sense the energy in a room. You don't need facts to feel what is true and what is not. You start to notice how people, places, and even your food vibrate. Once muffled, your spirit now sings. Additionally, your dreams, oh your dreams, become portals. They start to carry divine instructions, symbols, and sacred codes. What used to feel like a wild guess is now miraculous accuracy. The power of intuition has returned. You get downloads by alignment rather than hard work. As your body becomes lighter, give yourself over to purity, not by trying. It gets lighter in your field. Your auric barrier gets stronger. You have authority in your voice. Synchronicities start to pick up speed. License plates, angel numbers, unexpected meetings, ideal time. Alignment is no longer your goal. It locates you. Your radiance draws people to you. Discussions change. There are opportunities. Heaven seems to be warping reality in order to facilitate your journey. Above all, though, something lovely occurs within you. The old doubts, second-guessing, perplexity, and fog start to dissipate. Your higher self's voice is no longer quiet. It is strong, familiar, and present. You start to recall things you used to forget. You were blocked, but never disconnected. And now that those obstacles are gone, your own self shows through. You see that you've always had the power. There were always marvels to be found. Heaven's frequency was always broadcasting. All you had to do was clear the static. You can now start your holy assignment completely, unambiguously, and without doubt. I want to take a moment to talk directly to your heart before we conclude this holy message. From the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. I appreciate you being there for me while I came to this realization. We appreciate your commitment to your spiritual life, your decision to prioritize awareness over comfort, and your willingness to accept truth that the world is still not ready to accept. This message is here because of you. Heaven trusts you to bring this frequency into the globe because you are the light worker, the bridge builder, and the vivacious warrior. I really ask that you leave a great thanks if this message has blessed you and you feel inspired to sow into our project. Your assistance makes it possible for more selected people worldwide to hear messages like this. However, please be aware of this, whether you choose to donate or not. Already, I'm incredibly appreciative of your attention, presence, and energy. It is a gift that you are here. The offering is that you are awake. May your meals now become sacred as you go on from this point. I hope your body turns into a temple of pure light. May heavenly intelligence flow through your intellect. Additionally, may your spirit grow so in tune with heaven that every action you take changes the atmosphere and every word you speak becomes prophesy. May you be showered with blessings. I hope your soul is filled with clarity and that your heavenly birthright is unleashed right away. This is your moment. You have been selected, and the world will soon discover just what it means.